And we're on the air. Have a great meeting, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to General Finance for March 4th, 2024. Before we get started, we have Elena Van Avery. She's on council business, but she's on Zoom. Yep. And Melba and Amos is on personal leave. Who else? Okay. So identification of media. I don't see any changes or additions to the agenda. Cynthia?
Yeah, I don't see the Cannabis Commission on there. I think they were supposed to be last time and was brought in open.
In camera. It's in camera. Yep, go ahead.
That last meeting, it was in camera and it was brought up there. It's some items, number of items were in camera that should be in open. And I actually think there was a council motion to bring those items into the open. But because of this scheduling, I think they weren't available because they thought it would be later. So it was rescheduled for today.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I chaired that meeting. Going back after the meeting, we were going to separate the MOU decision into open and separate because it had to do with finances. We were going to put the finances part into the in-camera. That's the way I understood it. But after further research that during looking at the in-camera meeting policy, that it was because of the MOU so structured to the finance that because it had to do with a lot of financial, I would say, information, then it was put in the in-camera. And I think that's the reason for the decision. It's not.
Right. Yeah. Cynthia?
I don't know what the rationale was. I just said, I'm not going to repeat what I just said, but these are public monies and the public has a right to know what's going on with their monies. Furthermore, we have our finances, we have our monthly quarterly report, we have our audit. It's fully open to the public so they know what we're about with their funds essentially. So I think it needs, I don't see any reason why it would go in camera.
Elena?
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I agree with Cynthia. I appreciate you guys reading my email this morning about this, and I don't see any reason why it's not. And if they can provide a reason for why it fits in the in-camera policy, I'd be willing to reconsider. But as it stands, I think it should be open, and that's what we voted on last week.
Okay. So what I'm understanding is there was a vote last finance and for the MOU to be in the open and the rest not to be. The whole thing? Can you use your mic, please?
Or not you, one. I don't know how one could differentiate between council's finances. We always have the financial reports, the quarterly reports in open. We have the audit in open. So I don't see what the rationale is.
Leslie?
I remember last week's meeting was that we would bring a portion of it into open and then a portion was still in camera.
So go ahead, Helen.
I remember all that too, but this is an issue we have. We make a decision, or we say we want to bring something up, or we want to discuss something, or this and this, but it never happens. It's just, the agenda just keeps going forward. Seems like nobody is listening. Some of the things that I know last week I suggested something and it just got fluffed. And it's been happening too much. We gotta start looking at these things. Should be.
So if there was a motion that, that's what this council wanted, was for that to, be an open, then let's add that to the agenda. Any other changes? And if not, can I have a mover? Moved by Hazel, second by Cynthia. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Go to number 3, we're adding that, taking that out of the closed to the open. Kathy? Guess you're up. That was.
I have 4 items, so you want me to bring them all in front of you today?
If
Go
it
ahead,
were-
Cynthia.
Because,
If it were
our,
like,
just
uh,
to clarify,
I'm sorry.
Cynthia, the SNCC is a different, we're at arm's length from, council. The way that we have to do business is very different than any other, council department or, arm's length department or organization, because we do not have a bank account. So I just want to bring that forth before I proceed. And it's about, because of that, it's affecting community safety. So if you'd like me to continue on, I certainly can, but the information that I'm going to give will affect that.
So I think the whole part is, there's still a spot for you for in camera and your choice of giving enough information for the open, for the community. And then if there's more for the open, I mean, for the closed. So the floor is yours, Kathy.
You want me to start with? Oh, I sent my quarterly report and my MOU and finance. I sent everything. So I'll just go freehand. Okay, quarterly report. So because our orientation wasn't until the end of January, the quarterly report, which is normally in January, did not happen because not everybody was up to snuff with what SNCC is all about. So this is in your package. It talks about the highlights, and I'll just run through it. The highlights, and it goes from October of last year until the end of February. I want it to be as up to date as possible. And I'll go through it. In October, we had a great board orientation meeting. We started the What's in Your Cannabis campaign. We meet monthly with all the interagency organizations throughout 6 nations. We started the Community Contribution Survey. We also started our wellness series. We had several producer licenses distributed as well as retailers. We secured another SNCC stamp company that was in Hamilton. The former one was in China and was very costly, so we wanted to look at that. Our audit for the SNCC began in October. We did research on cannabis bags. We had lunch and learns, and we started our meetings with Health Canada and the expert panel on the cannabis legislation meeting. It was one of 3 meetings that we had with government. November, we redesigned our community outreach in our Instagram. Facebook bans the word cannabis, so we cannot use Facebook. Well, we could use it, but it's going to be taken off within hours. Our wellness series continued. We participated with Overdose Awareness Day. We sat up with the other booths. We secured we're looking at cannabis safe storage bags. We're partnering with other departments to bring this to the community. Our community, let me see. We were alerted by one of our producers that they were denied 3-phase hydro as it was a cannabis production facility on the territory. That was the first that we've been alerted. No other producers have brought that to our attention. We have an increasing number of non-community people coming to the territory to sell untested, unsafe, unregulated products on the territory. We are invited to speak at the Indigenous Cannabis Summit in Washington. We declined. I was able to do a presentation to the Iroquois Caucus. We addressed the incident at the Santa Claus Parade. We are able to have our second round of talks with the expert panel and with Health Canada. In December, our cannabis education initiative continued, as well as our wellness. We had the seniors dinner. We had a holiday driving awareness campaign. You'll still see our sign up in front of the plaza that says don't drive high. We worked with our partners of Parents Against Driving High. We completed our 5-year strategic plan and completed the revised community outreach plan so that we can reach more people. Looking through the regs of the changes that was made last year, we found that it contradicted some of the other words, so we're going through that. Potency testing is made available to SNCC from one of our producers at no cost to SNCC. There's throughout the territory, and there's a high quality cannabis supply issue. What you're going to see in the months to come that there are going to be more producers, cultivators, I should say, because they're trying to lower their costs. Research, tracking, and product management software program, we're looking into that. January. Instagram continues, and I'll give you more information on that. We're setting up at the community market, the staff is. We did a bath bomb workshop in collaboration with a drug strategy team. We, every month, starting in January, we're having producer and retail meetings. We thought at first that we could have it every quarter, and the producers and retailers said, no, we want it every month. We want to know what's going on, what council's doing for us. That's a big thing with our producers and our retailers. We have it every month, and then they get together every quarter. That is the plan moving forward. We've had a few doctors come approach us that want to do be either involved with our cannabis conversations, or we have some plans in the future where they would like to be a guest speaker on cannabis. As you know, ACMPR, only a doctor can sign the documents for that. It's not a prescription, it's a actual form that they have to fill out. Edibles made in-house is increasing on the territory, and we found a number of edibles, and I wanted to bring that here today, but I didn't. Anybody can come over to the office and I can show you what's being sold in this territory right now. Instagram reels highlighting our SNCC stores and products. You can see that on our Instagram page. Lunch and learns for the community and organizations. Though those are working very well. We're getting more people coming to each one. We did a Valentine CBD bath bomb workshop. We're building relationships, further relationships with Six Nations Police. Two Rivers has allowed all SNCC licensed producers and retailers, if they choose to be listed in the business directory. Food bank donation boxes have been installed at all the retail locations. We're working on the community awareness. Our outreach worker is working on that for a community health fair and guest speakers, which I mentioned earlier. Our outreach includes the cannabis conversations, weekly social media, usually a few times each week. We meet various departments about cannabis education. Our office is open 9 to 4:30 every week, or every day, so I should say. And we have cannabis awareness events for the community. Banking. This is a big one, and this is something that this council has fought for years. Now it's coming to a time that I need political, SNCC needs political advocacy for this. Cannabis was legalized in 2018. Only cannabis businesses off the territory can access banking. We cannot. Whether you're licensed, unlicensed, or indifferent, you cannot access banking. No First Nations in Canada are allowed to use bank unless they work for Health Canada or they work for the provincial organization. And you must collect excise tax for the government. Talking about excise tax, this government has, as of February, it's estimated, February 22, that was the latest stats I could get, with excise tax has made $43.5 billion in excise tax off cannabis alone. Most of that money goes back to the government. Well, all the money goes back to the government. There is no formula out there that gives any money back to any First Nations throughout Canada. Ontario alone made, up until February 22, is estimated $13.3 billion. Government does not recognize us. Having a business, like I was letting Cynthia know earlier, it is cash only. We do not have checks. We do not have our producers and our retailers cannot have bank accounts. They cannot have registered retirement savings plan, registered retirement education plans. They cannot have credit cards. They cannot have a banking or a savings or a checking account. It's cash only. This creates risk for our community members. We've had a number of break-ins, burglaries on the territory, both licensed and unlicensed, both terrorizing for a number of people in the last 9 months. Most people, because it's really difficult to get insurance, some people do have insurance, but you pay 5 times the amount to have insurance. Some report, some don't. Some are afraid that if they report, the police are going to seize everything that they take. Some people don't want others to know, because if they tell people, oh, I've been robbed, well, it targets them again, because some have been robbed more than one time. That is going back. We need political advocacy. Our producers and our retailers ask at every single meeting, what's council doing about our banking? And as I said before, I've went to every single bank, every single credit union, and I can't get anything because it goes against their charter. They're not willing to put their charter up for us or any First Nation across Canada. If they have a bank account, if they get a bank account, it's either they're lying about where the revenue is coming from. And if it's cannabis, the investigators from the bank will look into that, and they won't seize, they'll close all their accounts and ask you to usually get 90 days. And that's happened to a number of our retailers. So they're in this for the long game, and they need your support. Social media audience. We have 91% of our audience is from Canada. We reach more women, 60% than men. The biggest audience that we have is between the ages of 25 and 44. They're 66% of our audience. If you look at our Six Nations Cannabis website, you'll notice that it is being updated. And we want it to be up to date all the time. They're looking at different things to do it. We only have 2 staff right now and commissioners. So we're trying our best. I can't see this. Shows you in your package how many Instagram accounts we've reached and how we've increased. We've increased it 60% since December of last year. Community contributions. We have, as I mentioned earlier, a community contributions booklet, and this is what was worked on last year. We put out a call to the community of who wanted to receive funds from our community contributions book. This booklet was recommended from our auditors, that we have a system in finance, to have a system in place that nobody could question where our money is coming from or who we're giving it to. It's not my friend or my family or anything like that. So this community contributions book is good for 2024. It lists in here everybody who we're going to give to for this year. And it's the producers that decide that. It says that when they applied, what they're looking at, what they're all about. So in October or in December, we close that off. So now that we have that, and this is for the entire year, we'll have another one if everything goes well for the next year. So they'll always have a booklet and transparency, which I know that this council wants for everyone to see and the community. In October, community contributions, we handed out candy, but in the little candy bags, we put in Halloween safety information sheets into it, and we talked to a lot of parents. We made a donation to the Six Nations Elementary Home and Schools. In November, we continued on with our wellness series. We made a donation to the seniors' Christmas dinner. December, we had the Christmas dinner, and we made, there was additional donations made to us for music and for entertainment and additional food. January, we went, I talked about the food bank boxes were installed at all the retail locations. And February, we had the Valentine Bath Bomb Workshop, and we're making a donation to the Aboriginal Seniors Wish, which will be coming out likely next week. Professional development. All staff and commissioners continuously work on expanding our knowledge and surrounding the cannabis industry and as up to date as possible. CanCell. All new employees coming in must take CanCell. Most of our commissioners also have CanCell. CanCell is the only definitive cannabis retail education program in the province of Ontario. There are other ones across Ontario, but having CanCell enables us to go to other professional development series with that certificate for $20, $30, or free. So it's really a good thing. And it allows people to know the basic information. There's a CanCell standard course. Your pass is 70%. Then now people are moving up to the CanCell export course, and that pass is 80%. Staff and some commissioners are taking that. We've been approached by the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association in the States. They have they exist to promote the exploration, development, and advancement of cannabis industry for the benefit of all Indigenous communities in the U.S. They have approached us and would like to explore a partnership. They could look at the American side of it, and the struggles that the reservations in the States have are very similar to what we experience here. But they get more support by some particular states as far as cannabis and as far as hemp. This territory has explored hemp one time, and it didn't move the way it could have moved. So there's lots of opportunity with ICIA. Education is another area. It's a Canadian nonprofit organization, and they have various professional development about cannabis education. The staff takes that. Learning opportunities. We've talked about the robberies. Mushrooms. That was a big thing that was addressed. Well, it exists on this territory. There are retail locations selling mushrooms. These mushrooms are untested, unregulated, and they are a Schedule III drug, and they are illegal. You can get a felony charge and up to 13 years in prison and tens of thousands of dollars worth of fines. We had one of our retailers had it. I believe it was another organization on this territory went to them, had a secret shopper, and filmed them selling mushrooms. We heard about that, and within the same day, we went down there, shut them down, and said, "This is not what we're about. We're about safe, regulated, tested products. We're the Six Nations Cannabis Commission, not the Six Nations Mushroom Commission." There is research being done on mushrooms, but that's a few years down the road, and we can't even look at that at this point. In meeting with the police, We also met with the Public Prosecution of Service Canada with the police. They, if you get caught with this, you get a slap on the hand and they move on, and then they close them down, they open up the next day. We need stiffer fines, we need stiffer penalties. And with the Public Prosecution of Service Canada, the police can't do a whole lot because their hands are tied, because they're gonna go back out doing the same thing the next day, and that's not fair. So mushrooms, we will be putting on our website, we are adamantly against the sale of mushrooms on this territory. They're psilocybin, they're not safe unless you're under a doctor's for research and all of that, but not for us. The Six Nations Fall Fair, we were in there. We had a booth there. We had a lot of community members asking us what we were all about and what we did. We have a lot more people, those same people still coming to our office today. I talked about the community contributions book. I talked about the lunch and learns that we have regularly. Drop-ins, we're seeing an increasing number of community members coming to the office. We, political advocacy, as I said, we need Six Nations voices need to be heard. Six Nations voice needs to be heard at the different tables, especially with the federal table with Health Canada. We did meet with them last fall twice. I talk regularly with Health Canada officials and try to advocate for us. Because we missed opportunities. Last year, there's a legislative review of the Cannabis Act that went from December 22 to June 23. I didn't even hear about it, and I don't know if council had heard about it or not, or anybody at Six Nations, but there was no voice for Six Nations. There is now a voice in the next report, and I'm following up with that, and at the next time that I report to you, I'll be able to tell you what that is. And that's the quarterly report, 3rd and partially 4th. Any questions?
Thank you for your report. Cynthia?
Thank you for your presentation. Bear with me, because I'm new to this. What has you said you met with Health Canada. What have they said as far as a rationale as to why you're not recognized?
Well, let me explain. The Health Canada believes that we are outside of their we are illegal. Even though we have our own laws, we have our own regulations, they see us as an illegal activity, which goes against, so banks do not recognize us because they see us as illegal, because we're criminals. That's what we do on the reserve. They will not recognize us. And when our meetings, we ask them all that. We're not asking for their permission. We're asking them to recognize us, because our laws and regulations mirror what they have. But Health Canada thus far has not.
Yep, follow up, Cynthia?
Just a follow up. When they say they will not recognize us, why? Have they provided any sort of rationale?
Not to me. We do not, if we were to follow, like I mentioned earlier, if we were to follow Health Canada's rules, follow their guidelines, if we were to follow OCS's rules, they would recognize us. And we can operate on this territory. There are some First Nations across Ontario that do that. But then we have to collect their excise tax and give that money back to them, which Six will not do. I won't support it anyways, no.
I have Greg, Hazel, then Elena.
Yeah, just to Cynthia's point as well, as had the opportunity when we did the interview with that expert panel. Yeah, they were stressing that that they didn't want us to be independent of the federal government. We have our own cannabis law. As we talk about sovereignty and doing our thing and regulating our laws, they wanted us to harmonize with them. And that was another question that they're always using, whether it's harmonizing, whether it's some type of codependency. I don't think that we wanted to go in that route at all. We did stress, banking. First of all, in, was it 2018, when they first got this, allowed the cannabis to become legalized, they didn't consult with First Nations. And then afterward, they in turn actually punished Six Nations and the First Nations businesses. So what we tried to stress at that when we had that interview with that panel, and this is supposed to be an independent panel, I guess, commissioned by the federal government, that we can regulate our own cannabis law. We can make adjustments as we need them. We can do things that if they're not working, we can change them. But they didn't seem to want to accept that, and they were thinking that that we should actually be part of them, and we refused to go in that direction.
Hazel?
After listening to all of the roadblocks that are in front of us after this was put in our laps by the federal government, and you're asking and saying that you need political assistance to deal with a lot of the roadblocks that the people who initiated all this have put in front of a First Nations government. To me, that screams discrimination against the First Nations. And I think it seems like a lot of matters are starting to come up and hit when that stuff hits the fan, if you know what I mean. I find that in our own best interest and for this community, and we do use the word sovereign so many times, that there needs to be a delegation that goes to Ottawa and puts forth all of these matters to that government. And it's almost like they legalized that, but they tied all First Nations hands behind their back, even to the point of this funding where you can't put it into a bank. That creates another big problem for the community. You have the robberies happening, and I just feel that like, of course, we all want to see it succeed because it was approved, and this council did approve to undertake the control of it. So we don't just drop it and let it go now, because it's already been in its own place for some time. But I do believe we need to go to Ottawa as a delegate and talk to the government. And if you want somebody to do something, and then you put up roadblocks in front of them, what is that really saying? And I think this reserve has to get stronger and firmer with their demands to that government, because every day they are just giving you a kick in the ass, really. That's how I see it. Thank you.
Elena?
Good morning, everybody. I'm wondering, Kathy, if you said your audit was undertaken in October. When that's available, will that be available to the community to view on your website? And two, I heard you mention that you have, and maybe it's my misunderstanding over this technology, you said 2 commissioners and employees. Am I to understand that maybe you've lost commissioners? I thought that there were more.
Go ahead, Kathy.
No, there's 2 staff right now. There's a 3rd staff that will be, the posting will be put out next week, and all the commissioners are the same. That hasn't changed. As far as your other point, audit, I've asked, this is the first audit that the SNCC has done. So I've asked for further direction of how to roll that out. And I can let you know at the next meeting, Elena.
Thank you.
Leslie?
Last night I was listening to different people in the policing and the government and different levels of how they're conducting things. on our community level, it was described as, like, how can Justice Canada support Indigenous communities? That's what they want to know, right? At the same time, with the negotiation of administration of justice agreements. So we know we're working with justice. So we have tailor-made, practical, innovative and standalone procedures, but they're not accepted yet. And because they're not accepted, we end up with enforcement and prosecution gaps. And unless we are willing to address that, which we're going to be shortly anyway, unless those are addressed, this is going to stagger for a bit until there are things in place. So my one question would be to you is, when, okay, so how long do you give people to join before we take other action? Have we done that already? Have we made decisions in that regard? To join or take another route? Like what is the alternative to what's happening right now?
No, we don't do that. We invite anyone and everyone to join SNCC. If they choose not to, that's their prerogative. We've never pushed, nor will the police go after them for not being part of the SNCC right now. That's not what we do. We invite all community because we stand for safe, regulated, tested cannabis. We stand for protecting our children, and that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. And when we have our mums, we had a mum come in a few weeks ago, had a bag full of stuff and threw it on our desk and said, "This is what my girl bought. It bought from an unlicensed place." The whole bucket, I could have brought it today, there's plastic bags that said this has THC, this has CBD. There were not any amounts in it, no testing, no nothing. But we'll have different parents coming in like that, different community members, teachers. And really, because there's so much, we are saturated. And not everybody succeeds here. Because in any business, you can't have saturation. And so with this new person coming on, we're hoping to address that, to at least explain this is what happens when you have a saturated market. If you want to sell low quality cannabis, and that's happening now, but not everybody wants that. And an example would be between Hutters and DKs and your bag of tobacco. That's the difference between high quality and not so much quality. But it's still the same product. So it's up to the consumer of what they want. But we want it safe, tested, regulated, and with keeping the children in mind.
Okay. Elena, is your hand still up? Just before I move to Helen?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Kathy, I'm wondering if you keep stats on these incidents that are occurring, parents and teachers coming in.
Yes, we do, Elena.
Okay, could you provide that in your report for the next time, numbers wise?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Helen?
Well, unfortunately, the elephant in the room is that the Cannabis Commission is incorporated. And that's probably why the government wants you to pay excise tax, because under incorporation law, if India incorporates, they're not an Indian no more. And that's probably why they're hounding you to pay tax. The other question I had is that right from the beginning, and I know there was a lot of issues with this Cannabis Commission business, but right from the beginning, the intention was that the Cannabis Commission would become financially self-sufficient. And I've often questioned, at least 3 times, I've asked for a legal opinion on whether Six Nations elected council can use public money to fund an incorporation. Because that's a big issue. So I think that I really like all the stuff you're doing. I think you're doing great stuff, great education, great research, connecting with the community and all that. But the fact remains, you're supposed to work to be self-sufficient, and from what I'm hearing and seeing today, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think the Cannabis Commission is ever going to become self-sufficient because we pretty much missed the boat on that, I think. So I don't know what the answer is, but I just know we can't continue giving money to in my opinion, we can't continue giving money to an incorporated body. We can't do that. So, and as far as banking goes, what is it that the bank want? What do they want from us? They want us to fall under the Ontario legislation? And that's what Health Canada wants too, right? We haven't really launched a big fight against any of this, I don't think. I don't remember if anybody else does. We never really launched a big fight against them recognizing our law. We never really launched that big of a fight against banking. I think Chief Hill did some work on banking, but council itself, we've never done anything on banking. So we need to look at those. But again, we're all sitting here fighting for an incorporated body. You're not even Indian no more. You're a non, as they say. So to me, that's a legal issue that we need to look at. And I know it's hard as, I don't even know if you can absolve an incorporated body and start over to get rid of that incorporation. I don't know if we can even do that. I don't think the law allows people to even unincorporate. But that's the big issue that we have, this council has to look at. I don't know. I just think we need some legal opinions on this, but I don't seem to be getting any when I ask for one.
Carl?
Yeah, good morning, council. Sorry I was late. I'd like to respond to Councilor Miller's question. You go back 3 or 4 years when we first started this, it was to protect the children. We all know that. There's 670 sitting here now that they know that. And that is what we are doing, and we create it right now and moving forward on protection. Now, when it comes to the corporation, like you mentioned, that was discussed 4 years ago. And if you needed your legal opinion, then that should have been done then, not now. We've done all that homework. And as far as the funding, I guess you're talking about the funding, to my knowledge, is a loan. It's not a funding where you just give it away. I mean, would be nice maybe if you did, would help the community so we can move forward. But it's a loan. You got to remember, it's a loan. So it's not given to us. That I like to stress for sure. And then on the front, the banking. Now, as I recall, I don't think the council ever went to the fight for us on the banking, except make some phone calls. Now, to me, you need to go with Councilor over here said, Hazel, you need to go to Ottawa and on a discrimination act, really, because that's what it is. If we were to go off the territory, we could get banking, but then again, they're looking at trying to open the door for taxes. And we all know we don't pay taxes down here. That don't exist. That'll never happen as long as I'm sitting here. Never. So I think the fight has got to be right there in Ottawa on the banking, which we can open the door for banking, which is going to open the door for us where instead of what we got, 10, we would triple. We would go to 30, 40. Easily we had banking. Then that's where you're going to get your revenue to pay that loan back. That's the only way it's going to happen. And I can tell you right now, as sitting there, we moved so further ahead than 2 years ago that you couldn't even imagine. It was a mess. We straightened a lot of that out. Now we're trying to move forward. And with the people we got sitting at the table, they're all go-getters, they're all thinking of ideals. Now we just need the political people to jump on board and push us to the end where we can open them doors and help everybody. And that's the only way it's going to get done, because on the political end, we haven't really had the help we need. And that's what I'm here to stress. We need that help. Only you guys can fight that. We can't. We can call people, talk to people, even set up meetings for you. But on the political end, that's, we need you guys there. That's all there is to it. I hope that answers some of Council Miller's questions.
Leslie, then Elena.
I agree that some complex issues have been raised here regarding the banking, as you just spoke to. Healthy levels of what's inside the marijuana that people are actually using. The decriminalization of our best efforts. You know, like they want to do it right and then they do it right and all of a sudden they're a criminal because, whoa, you've been making this money because you're trying to do it right. And then our laws, our bylaws. And so I don't think we need to incubate any further. What they're asking for is for us to take it to the political level and inquire and fight for those rights. Because without a cannabis commission here right now, I mean, a cannabis, the Six Nations, what law do we have to stand in front of those that would come in and want to have their own law here, run their own organizations, criminal organizations, whether they're here or not is beyond me. But what I'm saying is we have a law that comes through the cannabis commission here. Thank you.
Elena?
Kathy, I'm wondering, what is the financial obligation for community members to get a license? And is it, what's the one time and what's the ongoing? And I wanted to mention just to council that I think the banking is, certainly has to do with this, but it's also a bigger issue, like economy wide, Six Nations economy wide. And I think that's something that the New Wealth and Economy Committee might be able to take a look at and spearhead. So yeah, I wanted to know what the current financial obligation is to sign up. And then what is your forecast for what the commission believes that they'll need going forward for a year added to this loan?
Yep, go ahead.
To sign up for retail is 5,000. To sign up for producer is 20,000. Sorry. To that entitles you, well, with everything that I mentioned earlier, for the council, when this was all created long ago, council stated, and I'll talk more about this in our MOU, that they would continue to fund us until we were self-sufficient. What that number looks at, because they broke it up into 3 phases: startup, growth, and financial and self-sufficiency. I see us, and commission also sees us as growth right now. They had I don't think they realized all the implications it took to start up a brand new organization. There's never been a commission. There's never been a cannabis commission ever. This is brand new. As far as economy wide, there are some unlicensed who are thriving, but they're also selling untested, unregulated product to minors. And that is not what we stand for. SNCC stands for safety. They stand for protecting our children. The economy wide right now, it's down. And the next few months, come spring, summertime, it's going to go back up, but just slightly. But that's across not only the territory, but across Canada. And we see these trends all the time. Certain parts of the year are better than others. But to ongoing costs that you mentioned, Elena, there are ongoing costs, and that's what I had adverted to earlier, is what we're looking at. And I don't have my book in front of me to give you the exact numbers of that.
Okay. Is there any other questions oh, go ahead, Dale.
Just one, Kathy. In relation to any of the retailers or producers that are approved by the commission, is there a sign or a logo or that's something that they display clearly on their store so that any community members coming in knowing that these people are meeting a certain standard?
Yes, there is a SNCC stamp, a great big sticker. And then when you go into the store, there's also a great big wooden plaque that's inside. We're working with our retailers to find out another way to better identify them. And because we're very mindful of our budget, we're trying to do it in the most economical way possible. Because we see in the flags that go out, they last for 6 months and then you have to get brand new flags. So we do have signage, but we're looking at better signage for the licensed places.
So in relation to that, is there a follow-up program in relation to educational awareness to let the community know that people that have this are meeting a certain standards and those that don't have this are not meeting that standard? So I guess their product may not be 100% safe.
Yes, in what I was mentioning earlier in the quarterly report, we are redesigning it, looking at how to better inform the community and the differences, because we find even with our departmental education awareness, not even our departments know, our employees know the difference between licensed and unlicensed. And then once we explain it to them, like, oh, well, and then we have a nice little placard that we have to update, mind you, but it will say who's licensed and who's not licensed and what that means. There are some unlicensed places that do test. They test for THC potency and they test for moisture content. They don't test for heavy metals or other things along that line that will take time to come out into the system. And in talking with others, they'll let you know that. But yeah, we need to do more. Again, we're a small crew.
Go ahead, Dale.
So, since this is live, so is there items that you have that can be potentially found and untested and uncertified? Maybe we can go, or do you have a long list of that? Just so people know what's actually going into their body.
So what's going into your body of an untested could be, I'm not saying that it's all, could be phytocannabinoids, which is excessive amount of THC. We have a limit of the amount of THC that you can have. Some on the territory go up to 14,000 milligrams of THC. That's going to green anybody out. There are contaminants like microbial and chemical contaminants that can go into your body. There are residual solvents in butane which shatter, and if they don't do it right, and then somebody was to use a shatter and heat it up, it could burst when you're heating it up right in your face. You can get third-degree burns, let alone everything else that goes on. There are pesticides that you could be smoking. There are microbials that are all in there that could affect you. Depending on where the plant grows, if it grows outdoors, those plants that are growing outdoors or even in a greenhouse, they will collect anything within a 4-kilometer radius. So if you've got your neighbor next door has some old cars in the ground and they're leaking oil and gas, that goes into the ground, goes in the water table, that goes into the plants. They can collect all that. Anything that's in the air, they're going to collect all that. That's what you're smoking. With our licensed producers are all high tech. We have some outdoor grows, but most of them are indoor grows. They check everything from the amount of sunlight to the amount of water, what kind of water, because if you have water that's no good, that has other chemicals, you're putting that into it. And with any edibles, whatever's in the edibles, you could have more stuff in the edibles. So you don't know what you're taking. You know that you're getting high or that it's addressing some sort of issue, but you don't, what could be in that could be dangerous. And it might not show up right now. It might take 2 years. Some mercury takes up to 10 years for it to show in your body. But that's what.
Helen, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, I'm going to suggest that we take some action. So I am going to suggest, and I hope everybody agrees with me, that we set up an ad hoc committee to work on the cannabis issue. And the 2 issues would be to work on getting our law out there, standing up for our law, I guess I'll say, with government, And the other issue is the banking. I think we need to put an ad hoc committee and come up with some kind of a really strong action plan to start doing something about this, because we haven't really done too much. I know Mark did a lot, but Mark's not here anymore. So that's what I'm gonna suggest, to really work on trying getting this, because if we could get the government to, but, oh, again, it all, it all comes back to that damn incorporation. Well, anyway, I'm gonna suggest putting an ad hoc committee to just look at what can be done with this.
So just along those, the committee, that it can also go to is the Wealth and Economy. And I think that's where it was under anyways. The Six Nations Cannabis was already under that. So that's something that they can really focus on, those things that Helen's talking about. Yes, and the other thing that, Helen was talking about too, that I'm going to look up for that, lawyer's report that regarding the corporation. I asked Nathan to check that out. I have, Audrey.
Morning. I have two questions. One is, how did you, or what kind of help did you have to take down those, shops that had the mushrooms? And the second one is, do we already have a copy of your, report? No, the notes you read from, is that? would that
Yeah,
be
that's
your
a quarterly report.
Okay,
Yeah, it was sent earlier or yesterday.
okay.
You should have it in your mailbox.
Your sheet down, I can see it.
Okay, I'll ensure that, I'll send it to Teresa. They sent to everybody else. but
So when she
Teresa-
sends it, Audrey and everyone, then we'll send it out.
No,
As far as the mushrooms, with our own person that did, I went down personally and it's all gone. And I double checked, I checked twice more because I had heard that they're still selling them. And I went down and I checked again and I asked for a thorough search, thorough search of the place. And there is nothing there. There are two places near him that I know for sure sell mushrooms. And that's a police matter that they'll be looking into.
Hazel?
Helen, I'm just wondering if we could add to your recommended resolution that, ask that a position paper will be, developed by Chris, once the ad hoc committee gets all of their, detail together. And then a delegation would be of this entire council that would go to the government and, well, it's my understanding it's getting referred to the Wealth and Economy.
Because,
Who sits there?
because under the Wealth Economy, cannabis is already under there. So that they want to do a hoc or whatever, or because Claire will be there also regarding all these, committees that,
So can you answer me with the development of the new committees, if and when this sitting council wants to send a delegation or put forth, matters to take to Ottawa, does that have to pass through those committees first?
no, it's just discussion. And then, you guys can figure out if you want another little committee or how you want to do it. Mhm. Yep, go ahead, Cynthia.
Boy. Just so the, our guests are aware, could you just let them know who is on this Wealth and Economy, committee? And also, as I understood it, we finally formalized who's on what. But included in that, it was noted that if any, this would be, Hazel, if any counselor wants to attend any of those meetings, if you have the time, it's like on a ex officio basis that you'd be free to. So I would think, Hazel, when they get to the point, the Wealth and Economy, to when they've got all their information together and everything and are going on said trip, I would think that would be included. You could go to their meeting and probably also join the delegation. And the chief always is to be part of any of those. That just roughly that's how it's set up.
So just along with what Cynthia said, Wealth and Economy, would be Greg, Elena, Amos, and Dean. Greg, Elena, Amos, and Dean. Yep, go ahead, Elena.
I just wanted to mention for everybody's information that Wealth and Economy is one of the ones where those counselors sitting there would be leads, but it's a committee of the whole, so decisions would come back. And if Helen, if it's not already in the current mandate, if the council wanted to add those specific items to the mandate, that would be beneficial, I think, for the committee to get to work on them.
Yes, because it talks about the cannabis, Six Nations Cannabis Commission. It's already in there, and also the banking and taxation table too. So, go ahead.
This is the first I've heard of it. I didn't even know that cannabis was part of the Wealth and Economy Committee. Nobody's let us know that. So
Yes, it's
thank
just-
you for the information.
Yes, it's
And
coming
who's the
out.
chair? Who
It's
do I
coming out
contact?
to the
Okay.
community
Okay.
soon, after we pick the chair and sub chair.
Okay,
for
thank
sure.
you.
Yep. Cynthia?
Just so you know, this was all just finally, we went through all, like you would believe, trying to get things organized and have the committee and who is interested in that, but it's also for internal, but external. That's what the chief was just saying, so cannabis relates to any external, it would be already in there. And for each of those committees, there is a mandate letter. So these issues are identified, and by approving those, they don't have to come back all those different committees all the time unless it's something new for council would approve that. But we weren't holding out on you. This was just finally finalized last week, and it'll be made available to the public.
Will be made available to the community also. Carl, did you have that? Then we'll
Yeah.
move to accept his information.
Just have a comment, I guess, on that. The commission will work really closely with the committee that you have there. Just to let you guys all know, the commission will do all the briefing notes and everything that you need. If we go to Ottawa, we will do all the back work, all the work, all the briefing notes, and then you could check on it before anything, and make any changes, so be it. But let us do all that grunt work, I call. And then we'll get it from the committee and then move on from there, because, I think we're only gonna get one shot at this, and that's it. And like, I can't stress enough on the banking is the biggest part of it.
So can I have a mover to accept this as information? Moved by Cynthia, second by Leslie. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Seen none, carried. Okay, so we'll move to the next. Adoption of the minutes. Moved by Helen, seconder. Second by Audrey. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Seen none, carried. So we go to number 5, City of Brantford, the 15th Mayor's Gala, request for sponsorship. It's in your. Yep, go ahead, Helen.
I don't recall council ever contributing to this mayor's gala, so it would be the first time if we do.
Any other comments? Not that I've known either. Yep. Wayne, do you know? Yes, please.
Good morning all. So my apologies, I'm just returning from vacation, and in reviewing the agenda, I did see this item. I did check the last 2 fiscal years very quickly, and I didn't see any donation in respect to this particular event.
Okay, go ahead, Audrey.
I attended it on behalf of council a few years ago. And it's well done. You get to meet all the, people in Brantford in all the various positions. Get to talk about stuff that, happens on Six Nations. And they also had I don't know what you wanna call it, a raffle. You have to go and sign up for all these different prizes and everything. I think they made a lot of money through that as well. You know,
Cynthia?
I just see in the letter that the fundraising, it sounds like when they have this gala every year, there's all the proceeds go to a charity of some sort, and this year it's the Nova Vita in Brantford. And obviously we have a lot of our members living in Brantford, living here that I understand, like, and I don't know a whole lot about this, but have made use of the services of Nova Vita. So I think myself that it's worthwhile because it support our members here in Brantford. And what was I gonna say? I couldn't see how much
It's
much-
on the
or-
next one, the next page.
Ah.
And if you want to put a motion, which one you would, like. Or the tickets part.
I couldn't see that. What is it? I know they got sponsorships, bronze, silver, and gold. I see that, but I don't see the ticket.
The tickets are $226 each. In the letter. Yep, it's the 1, 2, 3, fourth one down. Fourth paragraph. Yep. Go ahead, Cynthia.
I think if this works, I only know a little bit about this, only because we're working on our ice show for the middle of March. And so we look for sponsors and that, and we have similar, I don't know, the amounts are different, but bronze, whatever. But what they do in our little package, like the agenda and program, we'll note who the sponsors were. So I think it's good for us as a community, if we went the sponsorship versus the ticket, then I would hope in their programming, they would note like, yeah, our people are glad to be able to have this to access both here in the community and out of town, but further to have them recognize that, yeah, we're trying to contribute because we acknowledge that. I would suggest one of the sponsorships.
Because it says all the recognitions, what you just talked about for the sponsorships. So, what would council like to do? Ticket sponsorships? And if so, a sponsorship, how much? Go ahead, Helen.
Anybody got interested in going? I'll go up there and hob now.
May 4th. It's up to you, just buy the tickets. How many tickets you want to buy? So, May 4th. So would you like to sponsor, but also grab how many tickets? And then we can, when it gets closer. Yep, go ahead, Dale.
In their package, $5,000 sponsor, you get 10 tickets. 3,000, you get 4 tickets. 2,000, you get 2 tickets. If you want to be a bronze sponsor, which is 1,000, they'll just recognize your name as a sponsor.
Okay, so I would push for the 2.
Yep.
Nobody wants to go and nobody put their hand up, so. I would push for the 2 tickets, I'll go sit up there.
So that's the silver. Is that what, so you're looking at the silver, Helen? 2,000? Yeah. Hang on. So. Town Place Suites in Marriott in Brantford. It's at the Marriott. Okay, so Helen has on the floor. Do you want to put on the floor, Helen?
Yeah.
Yep, that silver sponsorship for 2,000. Is there a seconder? Second by Cynthia. Is there any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Dale. Yep, go ahead, Wayne.
The event is in May, correct? So this would be out of next year's budget. So we can ensure that once the budget for next year is approved, that these funds would be available.
Okay, thank you. Hazel?
Just a question. So if you say 2,000, so does that mean 4 people will go? Is that how you're looking?
2.
2?
2 compliment, yeah. And then up 4 for 3,000 is 4.
8.
Yep, go ahead, Cynthia.
Yeah, Hazel, if we're saying we're moving for their silver sponsorship along with all the recognition that you get in their packages, we would get 2 tickets, but if more people wanted to go, we can purchase individual tickets, I'm understanding. And all the proceeds go to this Nova Vita.
So go ahead, Hazel. So would you guys like to go? Yep. Leslie, yourself also?
Yes.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
Yeah, I would be interested to go. And if for those 2 tickets we get, like Helen's already expressed an interest, or, and then if there's not enough, Chief, if you're not able to go, I could go. Or go, however, just go. However it works out.
Elena? You'd like to go, or you have a question or comment?
I was just a comment. I was just going to say, I wonder if this is something that the external government, there's that new formed committee, right? And those are the individuals that should be working on all of those relationships, just to, not that that's the only people that should go, but just to ensure that they have space.
Yep. Yes, so Cynthia's on that one also. So let's do Helen's motion for silver sponsorship for 2,000. And we will receive 2 tickets from that. And let's buy 3 from 3 other ones. 2, 4, 6, 3. Or should we go to the 3,000? Get, I was just gonna say gold sponsorship and just get the 4 tickets. Yes, 4 complimentary. Okay. So let's go to the gold sponsorship and get 4 tickets. For the 3,000. Helen, are you okay with that? Cynthia, are you okay with that? Okay, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Seen and carried. Waive second reading? Helen? Cynthia? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Seen and carried. Also, for number 6, we have scheduling for March 20th, 2024, from 9 till 4 at Six Nations Polytech in Brantford Region Indigenous Support Center. So it's about discussion on the proper application of GLADU. So this is just out there if you have time. Helen? Yeah, so I was just gonna say, if you want to go, just let us know. So Helen wants to go. Anyone else that wants to go? So it's a moderate discussion on the proper application of GLADU. So I have Helen and Leslie. Elena, do you have your hand up or do you have a question? Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Yeah, as we recognize, if you have an interest, you could, but maybe when we're asking about this scheduling, if we identify like this is in line with Glad-do, I would say, like justice, that sort of thing. And I'm on justice. See, we're aligned. So just because of that, when is that?
So that's the March 20th. March 20th.
March 20th.
Yep. Go ahead, Helen.
So do we have to be sitting on these committees to go places, or can we go if we want to go? Like,
It's both. It would be open, but it would be good for the ones who are on those committees
but we can
to go, but you can still
if
go.
we choose, or
Yeah. So I have Helen and Leslie for sure. And if any of the ones who have hold the justice is welcome to go also. So if you want to just let Teresa know and we'll go from there.
Did you put down our names?
Yes.
We're on justice. right?
Yep. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn the open. Moved by Audrey, second by Cynthia. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Thank you for joining us today, everyone, and have a great day.
So